Welcome back to the Wiki Wacky Radio Show. I'm your host, Reid.
And I'm Frank.
Today, we're going to be talking about colors and sounds and what people sometimes refer to as color noises. Frank, I'm sure you've heard of white noise.
I have heard of white noise for sure. That's
most people have.
Probably the most common noise.
Yep. Most people might usually just recognize it as kind of like static, the sound of static.
Mm-hmm.
And some people use it more casually, just to kind of mean background noise,
right?
Stuff like that. Well, I'm sure you may not know, others may not know, that there are other colors of sound.
No, I was not originally aware of this. I mean, you did bring it to my attention before this recording, but no, I hadn't ever heard of this before. It's very interesting to me.
Right. I hadn't really either until I had downloaded an app called White Noise, and it's mostly like an app that plays a bunch of random sounds for people to use while they're sleeping or just as background noise and stuff like that. And it has in it different color noises. Other than just white noise, there's a couple other commonly recognized color sounds.
Hey, can I say one thing, though?
Sure.
I did want to say, I asked you before we went on air if there were, like, certain, if you were going to list, like, do you remember what I said, the particular wavelengths or whatever?
Like the frequency?
Frequency of it. Because, I mean, it did make sense to me, though, even though I'd never heard of it from an audio perspective. I wanted to make that distinction. You know, color is in a spectrum, and I was aware of that and about different wavelengths of light.
Right.
But I had never heard of it in this sense, in an auditory sense. I wasn't familiar with that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring that up, because that, I want to mention that the other colors get their names because of the auditory frequency. When you look at the sound waves and the frequency waves of the audio, it closely mirrors the color and the light wave frequency.
Right, like in that spectrum.
Right, so basically if you were to look at the color orange and compare its frequency to an audio sound, you'd get
like where it is on that spectrum.
Right, yeah, and that's what you'd end up with.
Yeah, because it's like a comparison of spectrums, isn't it?
Right,
the sound spectrum to the visual spectrum.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're going to do is I'm going to play the sound for Frank, and he's going to guess what color it is out of the...
Well, I'm going to do my best.
Yes.
Nobody said I would guess them. I'm going to attempt to guess them.
Right. Well,
it'll be a true guess.
Right. But the 5 main colors are, of course, white noise. There's also brown, pink, violet or purple, and blue. So I'll play one of those at a time, and then Frank's going to guess from the list which one he thinks it is. And are you ready for the first one?
I suppose I am.
Okay.
All right, well, to me, and I just want to go ahead and be honest because I don't want to be biased, I did hear that one in the warm-up as we warmed up. I have not heard all of these.
Sure.
But I did hear that one in the warm-up, and I even already had this thought the first time I heard it, that it sounds to me like waves on a beach. That's what it makes me think of.
Right.
And for me, I would associate that with blue.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at with that one. That's my guess.
All right. Do you want me to reveal the answer now, or do you want me to go through them all and see which one?
I suppose, I mean, in a sense, we want to drag this out because we want to have material and go for a certain length, but I also don't really want to drag it out. I'd like to know if I'm right or wrong, because I don't want to guess blue again.
All right, well, I guess we'll go ahead and tell you. It was not blue.
Okay.
That one was brown noise, or also known as Brownian noise, which comes from a fella's last name.
Brownian?
Yes, I can give you the spelling if you'd like.
Sure.
In a second, hold on.
So it's not BROWN.
It is BROWNIAN.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it does have the color in the name.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brownian. Very interesting.
Right. It's also sometimes referred to as a red noise. And the little blurb I got about it is it has, as I mentioned, it's Brownian noise, or brown noise, sometimes also known as red noise.
Red noise.
Yeah, red noise. It has an increasing intensity, a decreasing intensity with increasing frequency. It sounds like a low rumble, and it's sometimes used for relaxation and to help people sleep.
Yeah, to me it sounds like waves on the ocean. That's what it sounds like.
Right?
So, very interesting.
Yeah, I think it kind of does sound like ocean waves also.
Well, there's something interesting about this, as far as the whole, visual spectrum. I mean, because that's what I'm more familiar with. I've had to take art classes before as part of my education, both in elementary school and, in higher education. I even had to take art in college. So I'm kind of familiar with the visual spectrum and, the rainbow, as you will, as seen through a prism and all of that, how white light, through a prism becomes the whole spectrum of color, visible color, they call it. And also one of the things that I was peripherally aware of, and this project made me think of, was this sort of disorder or phenomena called synesthesia. And are you familiar with that?
I mean, I've heard of it. I'm not all that familiar with it.
Well, it's where, the people who have synesthesia can, experience colors when listening to music. Or they say things like they can see shapes when they smell certain scents. Mm-hmm. Or they perceive tastes when they look at certain words.
Right.
Or whatever. So it's this weird phenomena where people... it's like an associative disorder.
Right.
Where people make these weird associations with, colors and sounds and tastes and your perceptions, basically.
Right. I feel like I've heard John Mayer has that.
Really?
I don't know. It could be a rumor.
Well, that's pretty cool because one of the other quips that I have here is that the earliest recorded case of synesthesia is attributed to philosopher John Locke, who in 16... I know, very interesting, too. I mean, he has a lot to do with the other channel and with our conservative political inclinations.
Right.
So it's interesting to be bringing up John Locke here, just as a random wiki-wacky, sort of
connection.
Thing. So, yeah, but in 1690, he made a report about, and you were just saying red noise. I thought that was interesting. He made a report about a blind man who said that he experienced the color scarlet when he heard the sound of a trumpet.
Interesting.
That is interesting, isn't it? Because you can see how specifically associative the disorder can be because it was a trumpet sound. It's not even like... I think it would make more sense if it was like the A note, the note of A, and he heard scarlet, or you heard B, and you thought of green, or whatever. That would make more sense to me because of the frequencies, the note frequencies, or whatever.
Right.
But just trumpets in general made him think of the color scarlet.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But it is interesting, that John Locke would make note of that, and that it would be contributed into the canon of literature about synesthesia and whatever it is. Because they don't... I think they call it a phenomena. It's not like a disorder or anything.
Right, yeah. I got what you mean.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I thought that was kind of interesting, too.
Right? It's pretty cool. Are you ready for the next color?
I am.
Okay, let me get it ready here. Alright, what do you think?
I'm not going to lie.
Uh-huh.
To me, that just sounds like traditional white noise.
Alright. Is that what you go with?
That's what I'm going with, yeah.
Nope, that is violet or purple noise.
Interesting.
Yep. And this is what I got about it.
Well, do you want to hear something funny about that?
Sure.
Do you know that that's a cat's favorite color?
A cat.
Yeah.
Cats like purple?
Purple.
Of course, cats like purple.
Yeah, that's a cat's favorite color. I'm surprised I didn't get it right.
Because you like cats so much?
Because I was dying to tell that joke.
Oh.
I was looking for an opportunity.
Gotcha.
Can't believe I can't even pick out honest white noise.
Well,
I thought I had that one.
No, I mean, I guess to the average person who's not used to already hearing them, you really wouldn't know what to think. But let's see, what do we got about purple noise? All right. Violet noise, or also known as purple noise, has increasing intensity with increasing frequency. It has a higher energy at higher frequencies and is used in audio and noise testing. I don't have any examples. I wish I did, because that'd be pretty neat. But a lot of these sounds are used in audio engineering and telecommunications. And from my understanding, it's basically to test signals, essentially.
Makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of different... I deal with radios at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that all the time, about how interesting it is to wonder if somebody could just bring a Motorola walkie-talkie in and audit our radio chatter.
Right.
I just think about stuff like that. Or they just built a new plant right near us, and I wonder if they have radios, and how come their stuff doesn't ever interfere with our stuff, or could it?
Right.
So it's interesting to think that you'd want to keep certain channels for certain things, like maybe the satellites run on a certain frequency, and the radio towers run on a certain frequency, and the trains run on a certain frequency, and the planes run on a certain frequency, and whatever. I mean, like you said, it's sort of a shame that we don't have the specific examples, but it does make a certain sort of reasonable amount of sense that there would be these different bandwidths, and that you would check these different levels or channels or whatever, frequency ability, you might say.
And telecommunications, I don't know if it is exactly true, but to me it makes sense that they might use a sound like one they use to, test if a signal is being carried through, because all they need to do is test if sound can be received from one end to another.
And I think just in like I'm saying, I mean, I'm just one man talking, and
Right.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but it seems like as backups, too.
Yeah.
Like maybe you regularly communicate on this frequency, but if something were to happen, a tower were to go down, or whatever, this or that, you could go switch to a different frequency, or, speak in purple noise on the purple channel, or
Right.
whatever, instead of whatever the regular frequency is, or
Right.
whatever I mean.
Yeah, I think it's pretty neat. All right, do you want to go for another one?
Yes, I do.
Okay, one moment.
Speech on.
And just while you're getting the next one lined
I-
up,
I-
I'd
zero.
like to say that I think it's very neat what we're
Zero,
doing
10.
here, and
Sound
how
Sound one.
the folks at home get to hear as well
Speech off.
these different colored frequencies.
Yeah,
Because I bet that the folks at home would have the same experience that I would, trying to guess these. Like, you sort of form your own associations with them. And I
Right.
bet people might feel differently than I am and might have guessed different colors. And obviously, I've been wrong
right?
2 in a row so far. So,
Right?
But I think this is sort of a neat, different sort of episode that we're doing
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool how, in this particular episode, it'll be pretty easy, at least somewhat as far as the editing goes, because I'm playing these sounds right into the recording. I'm not going to be adding them in later.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that'll be pretty neat to find out how well it actually turns out at the end. But are you ready for your sound?
I sure am.
Okay.
All right, I again am gonna guess white noise, and we're gonna see how bad at this I am.
Oh, pretty bad.
Oh my god,
That was not white noise.
Okay, well then, can I guess again?
Yes, you may.
Can I say it was pink noise?
You may not.
Oh my gosh!
You can't keep guessing because you're running out of colors now.
All right, I won't guess.
That one was my favorite one. Blue noise.
Blue noise.
Yep, that one was blue. I like to use it to go to sleep sometimes. I like it. I think it's kind of soft compared to white noise. And I enjoy listening to it while I'm sleeping. But let's see what my little blurb is about blue noise here. Alright. Blue noise, also known as azure noise, which is Azure, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
is the opposite of pink noise. It has more energy at higher frequencies, with the energy doubling with each octave. Blue noise is often used in audio applications and for testing purposes.
See,
and
that's
for me, I like sleeping.
That's so interesting to me that you would just say octaves, and speak in a musical term,
Right.
because that's a scale as well, or like a spectrum.
Uh-huh.
I think that's so neat. And one of the cool things, like before I was talking about synesthesia, I guess there's like a bunch of different types of synesthesia. And one of the things that I read is that, it can occur between nearly any two senses.
Right.
And it says that nearly every logical possibility of combinations and experiences can occur, even though some are more common than others.
Right. Huh.
So isn't that kind of interesting that our wiring and people's smell can be associated with their thinking? I mean, because it makes sense everything's routed through the brain, but...
Right. Well, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting to think about that because it's really not hard for our brains to be tricked, despite what our senses are trying to tell us. One of my favorite examples is, I was probably in high school or so. I'd grabbed a can of something to drink out of the kitchen. I thought I had grabbed a can of Mountain Dew. Well, I took it back to my room, opened it up, took a drink, and then I was watching TV. A few minutes go by, took another drink, set it back down. And not until after I've already taken the second drink did I realize I didn't have a can of Mountain Dew at all.
It was Pepsi.
No, I think it was like a can of iced tea or something like that.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, the whole first time I took a drink, nothing ever registered in my brain. Like, hey, that wasn't Mountain Dew that you were expecting.
Well, I know you and I have had multiple conversations on this. I mean, you were a psych major back in college, and I remember talking to you about how people's perceptions of time.
Yeah.
You know, and I was a philosophy minor. I only, took classes in philosophy, but one of the textbooks, well, I found it in the library. It wasn't one that I had to read as part of any course, but I found an old textbook called Perception in Everyday Life. And that's really what this is, isn't it? It's just what you perceive. And that's another way to put that is the associations that your brain makes with certain stimuli. So,
right.
It is interesting, the sort of perceptions that we form and that we make.
Yeah.
I know one of your favorites was with time, right? And how to some people, 15 minutes can feel like an hour.
Right,
and
yeah.
to other people, an hour can feel like 3 hours.
Right.
And how easily people miscalculate and misjudge time.
Right, yep.
But I think this is kind of interesting, too. Mine is sort of like you were talking about, how easy it is for a mind to convince itself of something, sort of the placebo effect sort of phenomena. I think that's absolutely fascinating.
Right.
Just like this whole thing,
Yeah. It is. It is pretty fascinating. You got a joke?
Nope.
You don't have a joke?
Not about blue, I don't.
Oh. Okay. Well, then I guess, are you ready for the next sound?
I am.
Okay, then let me get it ready here.
Now that's got to be pink, I would think.
It was pink.
All right. Finally got one.
Right. I figured since the last one, when we did blue, it said it was the opposite of pink. I thought I'd play pink to see if you might have had a comparison. Or noticed any comparison, rather.
I just know that to me, it sounds the opposite of what it keeps saying. Like, to me, that sounds high energy.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it kind of sounds a little softer compared to blue.
I don't know. That one makes me feel better. And I usually like upbeat stuff and upbeat sounds. And I don't know. That one makes me feel better than the last one.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, let's see what we got to say about pink here. Is that it? There it is. All right. Pink noise. Pink noise has equal energy per octave, which means each octave carries an equal amount of power. In other words, the lower frequencies have more energy than the higher ones. It sounds deeper and is often used in audio testing and as a calming background noise.
I again am fascinated by some of the language you're using. Like frequency. Did you say frequency?
Probably did.
Because it just makes me wonder, like I asked you, I'd be interested to know like what the frequencies are for these, and if it lines up, like the electromagnetic frequency lines up in any way with the visual frequency, because I think it's also labeled in some kind of, I don't know if it's hertz or what on earth it's labeled, but
I thought about trying to include the frequencies, but I couldn't understand it enough to really want to be able to try to present them here.
I understand that there is a certain technical aspect to it,
Right.
but I just would be interested to see if there's any association
Well,
with the visual.
I was going to
or-
say, I will have in the show notes and in the description a link to a Wikipedia page about the color sounds, and they have, I think, examples of how the frequencies compare to each other.
That's neat. And
So-
I'd like to see, even
Yeah.
if there's a layering in, if you could do a layering in, if somebody's already done one, of the music scale and how those notes fall. The way you keep talking about octave. For every
Right,
octave,
yeah.
there's so much power, or whatever you just said a second ago. But
Right. Yeah. But that one was Pink Noise.
all right. Well, I'm excited to hear the next one.
Okay. Well, let's let me get that ready here. All right, you ready?
Yes, sir. All right, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say gray noise.
Gray noise. That one was white noise.
Oh my gosh.
Because,
You know how bad I wanted to say white noise, but I've already said white noise like 3 times or something like that.
well, yep, that one was the white noise, the official, I guess, standard, if you will. Or,
So we've finally had white noise. We've had red noise.
yep, we've
We've
done
had
them all.
blue noise. So let me ask you a question. If the red house is on the left and the blue house is on the right, where's the white house?
On at 1800 Pennsylvania Avenue.
I thought it was 1600 Pennsylvania.
Right,
Avenue.
whatever.
But yes, it's in Washington, D.C. That's where the White House is.
Yeah.
Just a little dad joke humor there.
That's a pretty clever one, though.
I thought so, and I got to pepper back in that we did red noise, technically, also known as brown noise or
Yeah.
Brownian noise.
That's right.
Somebody's been taking notes. And you might also say that I'm a Brownian person. Brown noser? I don't know.
What?
Well, I can be in certain situations. I'm an A student.
Grade A.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all of the colors that I had sounds for. There are 2 other colors that are commonly recognized, but I don't have sounds for them.
Well, would you tell me what they are one at a time?
I will tell you one at a time. The first one is gray noise.
Gray noise, the one I just guessed.
Yeah, the one you guessed.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Let me ask you something about that.
All right.
Could you tell me, when is a black dog not a black dog?
When he's covered in mud.
When it's a greyhound. It could be black, I guess.
Shoot.
But it's still a greyhound.
That's funny. That's a good one.
More dad
Alright.
humor.
All right, let's. So this is what I got
Is there
about.
any... Oh, you do
Oh,
have
go ahead.
something?
Yeah, I do. I got a
that's what I
little
was
bit
gonna
about gray
ask, is
noise
if
and
you-
black noise.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Gray noise. Oh, I'm just now realizing I didn't read the little blurb about white noise, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness gracious. Let me go do that real quick.
I know it's used a lot in telecommunications.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I definitely associate with white noise,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me saying so,
Uh-huh.
is the movie Poltergeist. That I
Okay.
think came out in like the 80s probably or something.
Interesting.
Yeah, but at the beginning, you know, the TVs used to go off at a certain time every night.
Right.
Like, I'll just say 11 p.m., let's say. I am probably wrong. But at a certain hour, they would play the national anthem, and the stations would stop broadcasting.
Uh-huh.
And all that would play was white noise after that part. And if you didn't turn your TV off, it would just play white noise until they started broadcasting again the next day. And the white noise and the stopping of the broadcasting plays a big part in the movie Poltergeist.
Interesting.
Yep.
I feel like there is a movie called White Noise, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm sure there was. That sounds like a cool title.
Yeah. All right, but white noise. White noise is a signal that has equal intensity at different frequencies, meaning it contains all frequencies in the same proportion.
Very neat. So it's like white color in a way. It contains all the frequencies.
Exactly. It sounds like a hiss and is often used in various applications, such as sound masking. That's all I have.
That would make sense in a lot of ways to me, too.
Right.
That these, the brown noise would be like a sub-frequency or a lower frequency within the range. And white is all of them put together, sort of like the whole orchestra, whereas these individual colors are like individual instruments or sections within.
Right.
And it makes sense. We're talking about octave and white noise and white color and the spectrum and all that. This is all very sort of makes you think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is pretty fascinating. I thought so. That's why I wanted to do an episode on it.
I think it's a good segment.
Yeah.
All right, but one more.
Yeah, well, we gotta go back to gray and black noise now. I didn't get to those because I remembered we skipped over the bit about white noise.
Yep. So gray noise. What's interesting
gray
about
noise. Gray noise is designed to have equal loudness across all frequencies. It aims to match the way humans perceive loudness, making it useful in applications where flat frequency response is desired. Not sure what that means. A lot of technical talk.
It would be interesting, though,
Yeah.
where a flat frequency is required. Well, that would just speak to specific applications. Like I was saying before, you wonder if that would be like sonar technologies or something to do with satellites or...
Right.
It's so interesting to me what the applications for these things might be. And I wish... maybe we'll have some future segment where we follow up on this or something. But it would be neat to sort of know what the practical side of all this is.
Yeah, like a real world example.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right, the last one, black noise. Black noise, or hold on, what's some letters here? INFRA noise, or sound, refers to very low frequencies that is typically below the range of human hearing. It is often associated with seismic activities and other natural phenomena.
That is so cool, but all of what you just said.
Yeah.
Because it helps illustrate that there would be practical implications for these. Like you were able to give an example for this one, seismic activity and stuff like that. And that makes sense. It's so low. It's like in the earth.
Yeah, you only really feel it.
Yeah.
You're not really hearing it.
Exactly. And just like with light, there are certain colors of light that we cannot see with the human eye, with the naked eye.
Right.
So that makes sense, too, that there are things that would fall outside the spectrum but would still be on the spectrum. We would still know about them through research data. We would know that there are still these lower frequencies, even though we can't detect them.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, very cool.
Right.
And I would just ask you as one last little...
Sure.
To end on a little silly note here.
Okay.
So we did white. I guessed it 1,000,000 times. We finally worked our way all the way through to black. And I would ask you, what is black and white and makes a lot of noise?
Black
We've been
and
talking
white.
about noise.
It makes a lot of noise. I don't know about this one. I know what's black and white and red all over.
A newspaper.
Yeah. Black and white.
And makes a lot of noise.
Makes a lot of noise. By the way, it makes a lot. A zebra.
A zebra with a drum.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, right. I got half of it.
You sure did.
That's cool. A zebra. Of course. What else is black and white?
A penguin with a drum.
Oh, so yeah, some penguins. I guess a polar bear. Polar bears got black noses. Does that count?
With a drum.
But they're not even technically white.
They gotta have a drum or some instrument, a noise
Right,
maker.
yeah, they gotta make a noise. Of course.
Make a lot of noise.
Right.
But so yeah, that's all I got on that one. And maybe we'll follow up. I know there's all these types of synesthesia, and that's sort of fascinating to me too.
Right.
How the brain can mismatch. Perception's always been cool to me.
Right. Yeah.
Learning the more technical side and the real world applications for these things. I mean, maybe there's a future episode here.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to try to return to it at some point, especially if the listeners provide us with some feedback and let us know that they'd like to know what some of these applications are for the sounds and such.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Because I was going to ask the people.
Yes.
If you care, let us know. Let us know if you liked this episode.
Yeah.
Leave us a comment. Send us an email. Go to our webpage.
Right. Leave a comment on the post on our website and let us know how many colors you got right as you were guessing along with Frank.
Is this a topic that you were already familiar with?
Right.
Maybe you work in some field where you deal with
some of
different
the sounds. Yeah.
Types of sounds, different colors. Maybe this is a subject you're very familiar with.
Right.
We'd be interested to hear from any of you.
Exactly. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and many other popular platforms. You can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube. There will be links in the show notes.
We hope you might share us with a friend, a loved one, a grandma, a grandparent, an aunt, uncle. We hope maybe you'll give us a thumbs up or a heart wherever you're interacting with this. And as always, we thank you for listening.